All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first Get Well Mental Health Series workshop rally with Inglewood First United Methodist Church. Students from the Master of Social Work Department at Cal State Long Beach, as well as the Being the Church movement in Long Beach. So we welcome everyone. My name is Reverend Victor Cyrus Franklin. I serve as a senior pastor, as the lead pastor of the First United Methodist Church of Inglewood. And we welcome everyone for joining with us. And we know that this is a time where we can't solve all of our problems and all the world's problems right now, but we do want to do an introduction for what this time is and what it could mean for all of us as an invitation into better ways of living and living well in the midst of what we're surrounded with. And so with that, again, if you haven't filled out the pre-survey, please do so. We put it in the chat and as we prepare to get ready. So for us as a church, why sleep? What does this have to do with the church? Why is sleep important to mental health? Why is sleep important to spiritual health? And so the best way I believe we can illustrate that is to look at the scripture. And so for us, this is Luke chapter 8, verses 22 and 23 from the Common English Version of the Bible. And it just tells the story. It says this: one day, Jesus and his disciples boarded a boat. He said to them, "Let's cross over to the other side of the lake." So they set sail. And while they were sailing, Jesus fell asleep. Gale force winds swept down on the lake. The boat was filling up with water and they were in danger. So they went and woke Jesus up shouting, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." But he got up and gave orders to the wind and the violent waves, and the storm died down. So this is a story of Jesus sleeping. This is the story of Jesus sleeping in the midst of a storm. This is a story of Jesus sleeping in the midst of being surrounded by anxiety, surrounded by uncertainty, surrounded by perilous circumstances. And so for us, with all of us have had to deal with through this pandemic, with the anxieties that have been surrounding us, with the hurts that have surrounded us, the grieving and the pain, and not just surrounding us, but also within us. Like Jesus, we need to live in practices that help us find peace, find stillness, find a sense of resolve and comfort in the midst of what we are surrounded with in the storms that we have. And so what we'll be doing today is exploring some practices and some themes and some ideas and some resources that can help us rest in the midst of the storms we find ourselves in. So I just want to introduce to everyone members of the group and members of the team who've been with us along the way. And if you go to your gallery view, you'll see the pictures of folks who've been leading us. We have students from Cal State University, Long Beach. So Francis, Ashley, Eva, Joe, Julia, and Kelly, we thank you for your service and your leadership. They came to us and said, "We'd like to do something with the church. Can we do something with you?" We said, "Absolutely, you can." Absolutely, we can. And also we have on with us Reverend Melinda Teeter Dodge, who leads the Being the Church movement in Long Beach. She's a United Methodist clergy person, pastor. Us at Inglewood Church, we're very familiar. She's a yogi and has led us in yoga and worship and leads worship on Sunday mornings, at least twice a month via Facebook and in the park as well. So we praise God for Reverend Melinda's leadership. And I'd also like to lift up one of our members from the church, Manu Tu'uolo Aki Murin, who is a part of a couple of our meetings as well, trying to sort through themes and ideas. And so we're thankful for their leadership as well. And so in that spirit, and without further ado, we'll turn it over to our leaders, these Master of Social Work students from Cal State Long Beach. As we say in the church, let's give God some praise, all right, for them and their leadership as we discern what it means to find sleep and rest with the anxieties that we all have. So turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for taking time out of your schedules to attend our workshop. And it is my pleasure to introduce my team: Ashley, Eva, Francis, Joe, Kelly, and I am Julia. We will be new Masters of Social Work graduates this coming May, and we are completely honored to be part of this experience and be able to collaborate with such supportive partners like Inglewood First UMC and Being the Church in Long Beach. COVID-19 has impacted our mental health, and many of us have experienced an increase in stress. Together as a group, we wanted to provide an intervention to increase wellness and mental health. Today's workshop will be focused on the importance of sleep and tools you can use to begin getting a more restful night's sleep. We welcome questions, so please feel free to type them in the chat, and our group member, Joe, will be monitoring the chat to ensure that any questions you may have will be answered. So next, it is my pleasure to introduce our sleep specialist, Ms. Kelly Lovejoy. She is a Master's of Social Work student and has gained an interest in learning about the benefits of sleep through her internship experience supporting veterans at the Veterans Affairs Office.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here. I'm just excited to share this with you. We've been working really hard with your leadership, and we're so humbled to be able to be part of this congregation and to work with y'all. So thank you so much. Before we get started, I do want to do a little breath awareness exercise. And this is a tool that you can use to really bring yourself down, calm your nerves, and this will also connect us together through the breath. So with that, I invite you to just stay where you are sitting, and you can either focus on an object or gently blink closed your eyes. And you can shift back and forth in your seat, finding the center of your seat. And you can roll your shoulders up towards your ears and then roll them down the back body, letting your scapula melt right behind that sacred, loving space of your heart. And you can move your jaw back and forth, side to side, releasing any tension there and unlocking it. And now I'd like you to just notice your breath. Notice the quality of it. Notice your rib cage expanding on the inhale, 360 degrees. On the exhale, you can just allow your breath to be a vessel, removing any tension, releasing, calming and lengthening, continuing to breathe. Just think about how beautiful this breath is. We need it to live, and our bodies just give it to us without us having to do anything to control it all day long. And you might be able to, on your inhale, bring your inhale all the way down through your heart, to your abdomen, to that space right above your navel, filling you completely. On your exhale, emptying, creating space for new things, for new breath. Moment to moment, we go through these cycles of breathing, just having a bit of gratitude and awareness that it's happening. And with that, you can gently blink open your eyes and come back onto the video. Breath is such an important tool. It really can take us from a place of heightened emotional state to back base level peace and calm and nourishment. So you can use that whenever you'd like. And I'm going to start sharing my screen now. All right. Okay, so So all of the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today is from Stanford University. A lot of it's from the Huberman Lab. Andrew Huberman is a PhD in neurobiology, so he studies the brain. And then a lot of this information is CBT, which is a therapeutic modality for insomnia. So whenever these are posted, you can always click each of those boxes and it'll take you directly to the link. But we also sent out a resources form and they're on there as well. So definitely do check those out. There are hours and hours of lectures from Andrew Huberman on sleep, and they're so interesting, and you can really deep dive into the things that I'm just going to be focusing on very briefly. So please do go and check those out. They're really great. So why sleep? Since COVID has happened, it's been hard for us or a lot of us don't even have the same schedule at all. A lot of our kids at home are inside a lot, studying online. We don't have the same anchors that we used to have of taking the kids to school or going to work. Maybe some of us do still have those, but it's been a very disruptive year, as we've all noticed. So sleep is extremely important, and it's important for emotional regulation. So actually, we've all seen toddlers or kids when they haven't gotten their nap. Adults go through the same thing when we haven't gotten our sleep. We can become triggered very easily. And then physical and emotional healing. We actually have self-therapy that happens during REM sleep. That's one of the stages of sleep. So if there's a traumatic event that you've gone through, it's imperative that you do get really good rest that night, because your brain will go ahead and, without the fight or flight activation, it'll be able to process and integrate that experience without holding on to the emotional burden of it. And then physical healing, wound healing. If you're going through any kind of cancer treatment, it's very important to get sleep during our deep sleep phase. We do a lot of healing in our bodies. Focus and learning. Whenever we are trying to learn something new and we make mistakes, what that does actually is it highlights the neural pathways in our brains that didn't fire correctly to get it right. And while we're sleeping, it goes back and figures out which pathways need to be corrected. So if you're trying to learn anything, sleep is imperative. The next day, you'll probably find that you might get it a little bit better than you did the day before. And then it also minimizes the risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, and overall, it just improves cognitive functioning. So it's extremely important for everything in our lives. Oftentimes in social work, people come to me and they want to heal this childhood trauma, or focus on this conflict in their lives. And I just think that before we do things like that, we need to make sure that we have a foundation. And sleep will give us that foundation. The breath will give us that foundation. And a lot of things that we'll be covering in these Get Well series really provides that foundation so that we can do the hard work, so that we can keep up with all the changes that have been happening nonstop. So yeah, very important to get sleep. And so CBT for insomnia talks a lot about sleep hygiene. I do want to say that there's a lot of biological diversity from person to person. So one of these rules, limit caffeine. Some people have a sip of caffeine and they're wired all day. Me, you could put an IV in my arm and I'd probably still be pretty sleepy. So it's really different from person to person, but bedtime routine, I think that's very valuable, actually. I have an hour-long ritual before bed where I wind down, and I keep all the lights very low, and I might lay down on the ground even and process what happened through the day, or I might read a book or journal, just having some kind of ritual at night to bring yourself down from the day, something that tells your brain, okay, now it's time to go to bed. Getting up at the same time, that one's really interesting. So they found that, and the Huberman Lab talks about this a lot, but through research, and this is a very good research, this one was a Blue Ribbon journal, I believe, they talked about how consistency in sleep is more important than duration. And that's not going to be true for everyone. Teens, I think duration is very important, but what that means is if someone is getting, say, 11 hours of sleep, and then 6 hours of sleep, and then 4 hours of sleep, and then 10 hours, that's going to be less optimal than if you do 6 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours. So I find that pretty liberating because we don't often have time to just sleep for 10 hours. And again, I do want to say actually as well, people talk about sleep debt a lot. And um, and there is no IRS for sleep. No one is going to come tell you you need to get those extra hours that you didn't get before. Bodies are very forgiving. So you don't need to be too strict about anything. The bodies are resilient. So don't worry too much about that. And setting our circadian rhythm. So setting our circadian rhythm is something that actually is universal. So like the caffeine varies from person to person, setting the circadian rhythm is universally true. It's a 24-hour biological clock that tells you when to wake up and when to go to sleep. And every living being has it. Plants, animals, butterflies, cats with banjos. I'm so sorry. I hope you can see it. I had to put the cat with the banjo in there. I just couldn't help myself. But humans as well have the circadian rhythm. So the circadian rhythm is, it works with melatonin that gets released in the morning. Melatonin keeps you awake, keeps you alert. And also it is a precursor to melatonin, which is released later in the night. So the way that you're going to release serotonin in the morning, and this is very important, this is a great anchor to have, is to get 2 to 10 minutes of sunlight before 9 a.m. And you do have to get the sunlight outside. Only 50% of what they call lux, which is the energy of the light, can make it through a window. So it does have to be outside. And you just have to get the light into your eyes. No sunglasses and no blue blocking. That they just block the color blue glasses. None of those. In fact, blue blocking glasses aren't optimal for daytime at all because that blue light is going to wake you up. And also, seeing eyeglasses are totally fine because those lenses are designed so that the light is directly focused into your retina. So that's totally fine. If you're surrounded by buildings like I am, where you can't really see the sun, no problem. All you have to do is get that light into your eyes. If it's overcast outside, also not a huge deal at all. You're still getting that light into your eyes. So all good there. And I do want to stop for just a second and see if anybody has any questions from the chat that I can answer before we move along.
So we've got a question from the Reverend.
Yes.
What is an example of an hour routine before bed?
Great question. So I am going to go into this a little bit, but so you can do a meditation, you can journal, you can read, you can also just take a shower. It doesn't have to be anything too therapeutic, even just turning the lights down, taking a shower, maybe doing some very light stretching, just things that tell your body, okay, it's time to rest. Does that make sense? Any clarification needed?
And we also got another question from Micah. So what do you recommend instead of blue blocking glasses during the day?
I recommend your seeing eyeglasses and only those. If you need to wear, so something that is actually important is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is what they call the circadian dead zone. So you're not going to shift anything in your circadian rhythm during that time. So if you want to wear sunglasses, that's totally fine. But as a general rule, bright lights are going to keep you awake and dark lights are going to make you go to sleep, or no lights, I would say.
One more question from Reverend Dodge. What is the basic role of serotonin for good sleep?
So serotonin works in balance with melatonin. and melatonin is what makes us very sleepy. So serotonin, it also gives us feelings of well-being, and gives us feelings of, it's more of like a peaceful feeling than say dopamine, which is more of like a reward feeling. So getting the serotonin is vital to getting the melatonin at night, and it will help you focus and stay alert as well. And I also want to say too that a lot of people have shift work. So they are working, they're working a lot at night and they need to be awake and alert. So this like 9 a.m. situation isn't going to work for you. All you need to know is it's totally fine if you work at night, if you're working from like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., totally fine. You still have a 24-hour circadian cycle. And yours is just going to be getting light when you want to be awake and alert and turning lights off when you want to go to bed. Any other questions before I move along? All right. So setting our circadian rhythm at night. So this is just another anchor. If you can't do one of them, that's totally fine. If you can do all of them, awesome. But yeah, so setting our circadian rhythm at night is going to be very similar. 2 to 10 minutes of the sunset. You don't have to actually see the beautiful sunset. You just can know it's there, but be outside. And all the same rules. No sunglasses, seeing eyeglasses are fine. You just got to get that light into your eyes. What it is it's a contrast of the blue and yellow light that tells your body, okay, time to start creating that melatonin. Any questions pop up yet? Okay, I'm gonna move along. All right, so indoor lighting, also very important. So a fun trick if you have kids and they have a hard time waking up in the morning is turning their lights on 45 minutes to an hour before they're meant to wake up will help them wake up, and it'll also trick them into going to bed later or earlier at night, and they'll get deeper rest as well. You don't need to buy anything to set your circadian rhythm, but I do want to say that I got these light bulbs from Costco. They're pretty expensive. They're like $10 per bulb, but they're set to automation with Bluetooth. So they just automatically turn on 45 minutes before I am supposed to wake up. And it does feel a bit like waking up in an operating table, but at least I'm awake. So that's always an option. And then during the daytime, keeping your lights on. All of my lights are on right now. Because again, you want that bright light. And then at nighttime, no bright lights, no overhead lighting if you can help it. Again, if you can't help it, it's okay. Don't worry too much. But overhead lighting as little as possible. It's kind of like in the same direction as the sun. So we want to get as little of that as possible. And you can have lights that are lower to the ground. Those are better. So maybe a floor lamp or a desk lamp or a dresser lamp, all good. And then a lot of our smartphones or tablets or even our computer screens have a night shift mode. So what that does is it's going to dim the light. And I think it probably mutes the blue light as well. A little side about blue light. People have become very obsessed with blue light. The reason is because a lot of the research has been done on blue light because it's the brightest light, but any bright light after dark is going to not be the best. So white light at dark, any bright lights from the TV, we just want to keep those to the minimum. And you can do that just by dimming the screens. And this is a big rule here. Again, if you are a night shift worker, it'll be a little bit different, but no bright lights or screens from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. A lot of people wake up at 1 a.m. and they look at their screen and they're like scrolling through and they're looking at the news, and they might also get very anxious looking at the news as well. But Now they're going to start waking up at 1 a.m. all the time because our eyes are very sensitive to light from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. So now they've like learned, okay, now we wake up at this time. And are there any questions before I move along? All right. Okay, so a lot of reasons why people are having trouble sleeping is anxiety. It's been an anxiety inducing year. So anxiety is stress buildup in our emotionally, and it can be physically as well. Some people feel stress very briefly here and there. That's normal. Some people have chronic anxiety. Some people have panic attacks where they have very disruptive attacks that make them feel like imminent doom is coming. And something that Andrew Huberman says is that it's extremely difficult to control your mind with your mind. The best way to control your mind is with your body. And one of the tools you can use so easily whenever you'd like is the breathing exercise that we did in the beginning. So key. I use it all the time. It really works. And that's like a physiological response that brings our emotional level down. Also, you can do some yoga. That's a good way because yoga will get us out of our minds and put us more into our bodies. So we'll be thinking more about our bodies and less about what we did or did not do. Also, going on a hike, great. You get that nature in. Nature can be very calming. You get some exercise. When we go on walks or go jogging, we get this thing called optic flow. That's when we're moving in relationship to objects that are just staying still. And it turns off a part of our brain that does the fight or flight mode and makes it so that we can think about events that are happening to us without getting too overly emotional in a way that's disturbing for us. And if you have chronic anxiety, or if you just are feeling like you'd like it, therapy is always a good option. There's so many different forms of therapy, different kinds of therapists with different styles, different modalities and techniques. So there's a lot to try there. So definitely that as well. And so one thing I would love to offer to you all is what we call a physiological sigh. And what it is it's 2 inhales, 1 exhale. So what this does is it offloads carbon dioxide, which gets built up when we have a lot of stress. Actually, all living beings subconsciously do this. You'll notice when people cry, they'll go like, when they're very upset. When we're running, we do this as well. Well, in the beginning stages of sleep, we're also doing it. If you have a lot of anxiety, it's a good practice to practice this way of breathing for 5 minutes every day. And it's such a quick and immediate tool for whenever you're having any kind of moment where you're feeling like your emotions are all over the place and you really need to focus and you can't because you're in this like fight or flight mode, then this sigh is a really good thing to do. Are there any questions before I move along?
Yes, we have a question in the chat from Ariana. What do you recommend we do if we wake up in the middle of the night?
Oh, I'll get to that, I think, on the next slide. But I will tell you right now. So waking up in the middle of the night, super common. What you're going to want to do when you wake up in the middle of the night is what's called a non-sleep deep rest exercise. So it is meditation's one of them. These are different things that will create what they call slow brain waves. It's the same kind of slow brain waves that you're getting when you are in deep sleep. So over here on the left, there's a body scan meditation. Underneath that is hypnosis. That's from a guy, a psychiatrist at Stanford. His name is David Spiegel. He's done a lot of research and studies on how hypnosis is actually better for pain management than opiates, which is amazing, really cool, because there's almost no side effects from it. And hypnosis, what is that? It's, we think of like a magician on the stage with like a watch putting you to sleep, but no, that's not what hypnosis is anymore. Now it's just somebody getting you into this state where you're not asleep, not awake, turning off the part of your brain, the amygdala that does the fight or flight, so that you can process things and reorganize your nervous system. So you can put these scripts on, these videos, and they might put you to sleep, but even if they don't put you to sleep, at least they are giving you the slow brain waves, so you're still getting the benefits of sleep. Really cool. And then underneath here is Yoga Nidra. This is actually the yoga of sleep. And this does the same thing. It gets you into this not asleep, not awake space where you can really get the benefits of rest and of sleep without sleeping. I recommend these if you wake up in the middle of the night, if you're having trouble going to bed, you can just listen to them. Or if you are just tired throughout the day or you need to relax. Other things you can do is if you wake up in the middle of the night and you've been awake for more than 30 minutes, now's the time to get out of bed. And that's so that you don't create this like frustration loop of being in bed and not being able to sleep. I would suggest doing something very relaxing, not TV, not iPhones, but something like deep breathing, meditation, if that's in your practice, or a body scan that's at the top here where it kind of brings you into your body and helps you relax. There's something called progressive muscle relaxation that guides you through how to relax your muscles. That's also on our resource list that was sent out. Yeah, any other questions?
I think all of our questions right now can wait until we come back to the larger groups.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go into breakout rooms right now. So I will hand over the mic.
So I'll be sending us all into breakout rooms. You should get a little invitation to join it. And then I will also send out some questions for the group to consider, and then a warning time when it's about time to return. So